Welcome to the deep dive. Ever thought about why some habits just click and others are, well, a real struggle?
Mm,
Or how something totally ordinary, like how you start your day, could actually unlock secrets to learning pretty much anything?
it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. So today we're diving into something unexpected bits from an English learning podcast. And it's all about the simple act of your morning routine.
Right. And what's so interesting here is how this everyday thing, your morning routine, becomes this amazing window into how we learn, really.
How habits form.
Exactly. How habits form and how we can take stuff that feels complicated and, make it genuinely digestible.
Okay.
So our mission today is looking at what a morning routine is, sure, but more about what this specific example shows us about good learning strategies and just simplifying things day to day.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
So, the source material, this English learning podcast, it kicks off by just stating how universal the morning routine is.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we all have one. Brushing teeth, grabbing breakfast, heading out the door. It's something everyone does in some form
And that shared experience, that's like the perfect starting point for learning anything, really.
because it's familiar.
Exactly. It's familiar, it's concrete, it just makes the information instantly relatable. And that connection, that's just crucial for any learner. Doesn't matter if it's English or, I don't know, quantum physics.
And here's where it got really interesting for me. The speakers on that podcast, Jordan and Eden, they shared their own morning habits, very honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan said he wakes up around 7 a.m., but then he doesn't actually get out of bed till 7:30.
The phone scroll.
Yep, scrolls on his phone for a bit. And Eden, she confessed she does the same thing. Alarm goes off, but she just lies there, kind of half asleep, needs to be up by 8.
It's so human, that detail about let's call it the phone delay instead of the snooze button, maybe.
Ah, yeah.
It just adds this really authentic layer. It shows how personal routines are. Even though the basic idea is universal, everyone's got their quirks.
Totally. So then we hear about the specifics once they're actually up. Jordan brushes his teeth, washes his face, and drinks a big glass of water. Says it helps him wake up.
Right, the water thing. Lots of people swear by that.
He also does a little stretch, makes tea, eats something light toast or a banana. He admits he's, quote, kind of lazy in the morning.
See, those small things, the water, the stretch, they're little intentional actions that shape the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it also shows routines don't need to be these super rigid, complex schedules, right? They can be simple,
Yeah.
adaptable.
Sit your energy.
Exactly.
And Eden, she mentioned doing yoga sometimes.
Okay.
Not every day, she said, but maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And she loves breakfast, like eggs, toast, fruits, something quick but tasty.
So different strokes again.
Right.
Yoga versus a simple stretch. Bigger breakfast versus something light.
Right. So let's step back from Jordan and Eden a bit. What does this all mean for you, the listener, whether you're learning a language or a new skill or just trying to get your thoughts organized?
Well, yeah, how do we connect this? The original podcast used these routines to teach basic English, but the underlying strategy, it's much broader.
It raises that question, doesn't it? How can we use these familiar scenarios, these everyday things, to get a handle on new concepts?
That's it. How do we leverage the familiar? And the strategies they shared are honestly super applicable to learning just about anything.
Okay, like what? What was the key instruction?
Well, for the English learners, it was basically try saying your routine like this, using really short, clear sentences.
Ah, the simplification.
Yes, like I wake up at 7, I brush my teeth, I take a shower. Simple verbs, simple structure.
I eat breakfast. I go to work. They really stressed. You don't need big words, just practice daily.
And that highlights the power of breaking down something complex, like learning a whole language, into these little, manageable, repeatable bits, chunking it down.
Makes it less overwhelming.
Totally. It's about building those foundational skills through simple, consistent practice. Start small, build momentum.
Okay, what else? Another tip they gave was to actually say your routine out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you're alone, like stand in front of the mirror and say, "Hello, my name is Rahul. I wake up at 6. I go for a walk. Then I make tea."
Okay, so that's encouraging active recall and immediate application.
Explain active recall a bit more. How does saying it out loud help?
Well, instead of just passively reading or listening, you're forcing your brain to retrieve the information, to actually produce the language or the steps or the concept.
Ah, okay.
It's moving from just consuming information to actively engaging with it.
Mm.
And that's critical for making things stick, for building confidence in any skill, really.
But it's not just for language. You could talk yourself through coding steps or...
Or the stages of a recipe, or the argument you're building for a presentation, Verbalizing it makes it concrete.
Got it. The source also really pushed listening to native speakers,
Yeah.
watching YouTube, listening to their own podcast over and over.
Immersion.
They emphasize that repeating is key. Listen, pause, speak, repeat. That's the best way to train your brain.
Yeah, and that combo immersion and repetition, especially space repetition, where you revisit things over time, that's fundamental to deep learning.
It's not just hearing it once.
No, definitely not. It's about that repeated active engagement, listening, pausing, trying to say it yourself, repeating. That's how you truly internalize stuff, embed it deep.
Okay, so simplifying, active recall, repetition makes sense. Now, towards the end, they pulled out 2 key vocabulary words from their topic.
Oh, yeah. What were they?
Jordan offered snooze button,
Classic.
explained it as, the button on your alarm you press when you want to sleep 5 more minutes.
And that's a perfect illustration of learning vocabulary in context, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a random word. It's tied directly to that relatable experience we talked about earlier. The phone scrolling delay's close cousin.
Huh, exactly. And Eden's word was routine.
Okay, the core concept.
Yeah, defining it simply as something you do regularly, like every day. So your morning routine is what you do every morning.
And that brings it all together. Routines give us structure, predictability.
Which sounds maybe a little boring.
Well, but think about it this way. That predictability, that structure, it actually frees up mental energy
How so?
because you don't have to think about every single step of brushing your teeth, right?
Yep.
It's automated. That frees up your brain power, your cognitive load for other things.
Like tackling the new stuff you're trying to learn.
Exactly. So the routine isn't just a topic. It's also kind of the method. Automate the simple stuff so you can focus on the complex.
Wow, okay. So this whole deep dive really shows how a simple topic, the morning routine, it's like a lens, isn't it?
Totally.
For seeing these really effective learning strategies. Simplifying things, practicing consistently, that active engagement, smart repetition.
And what's really neat is how the original source, by being so simple and clear itself, actually models that key principle.
That profound learning often starts small.
Yeah. It often begins with really basic, accessible steps. You don't always need complexity right out of the gate. Simplicity can actually be a huge advantage when you're building a new skill.
So we hope this encourages you, listening, to maybe look for those aha moments in your own daily patterns and to think about how you could apply these ideas, simplification, active practice, repetition, to whatever it is you're trying to learn or get better at.
Yeah. Maybe consider this.
Yeah.
How much more effective could your daily habits become if you started seeing them not just as, chores to get through,